Follow me.
I'm following you.
Okay. If you can control yourself with a credit card and not go into debt, you're using them to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're getting a so-called 30-day loan for free.
For free. Welcome, everybody, to Born Broke with Mike Hoforth. Today, we're going to be talking about credit cards, folks. Take it away, Mike.
Credit cards, George. They can either enhance or ruin your life.
I would agree.
And typically, they can get you at an early age.
When you don't know how to use them and don't know how to pay them off every month.
Credit card companies have they have a good thing going. Let me tell you why. They basically give you money you don't have if you don't have any, and they entice you to spend it. And it's easy to get. Whether it's a credit card for $50 or whether it's a credit card for $50,000, it's all the same principles, right? And we're all bombarded constantly with credit cards. They're trying to make it easy for everyone to have them because they want you to spend on them, because they want you to overspend so they can make tons of money on you, because they charge high interest rates typically. I don't know a credit card myself that has a super low interest rate. Do you?
I do not.
Yeah, and it's easy to get yourself in trouble with credit cards. So, basically what we're talking about is self-control, right? Credit cards are very dangerous, and they can put you in a debt that you can't climb out of, and it's going to really, I'm just going to say it, it's going to ruin your life.
Correct.
Right? So don't do it. Don't do it unless you know how to do it. And that's why we're here again with the financial literacy thing, because this is one of the most important, I think, episodes we might do. Right?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Like you said you have to have discipline. If you're going to have a credit card, you have to have discipline.
Absolutely.
If you don't, would you recommend, let's say the person does not have discipline, they're never going to have it. You should probably, I'm just bouncing this idea off you, is to have a debit card.
Yeah, a debit card.
Because
the difference between a debit card and a credit card is money you don't have. A debit card is money you do have. So a debit card doesn't allow you to spend something you don't have in your bank account. That's basically the difference in what George is explaining. So basically a debit card, it's controlled. Because if you don't have money in the bank, you can't use it. You can't use it. And the thing is, credit cards are easy because you can go get that new pair of shoes that you always wanted. You can get that dress, you can get that hat, you can get whatever you want depending on the threshold of credit you were given. A lot of times, if you're just starting out, it might be $500, might be $200, something like that, But it's all about self-control. And we're here to teach you self-control, hopefully, right? But only you at home can really do it. We can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself, but we're here to tell you not to do it. Not to do it unless you have the self-control and you have the means of being able to understand how to use them to your advantage. And when I say to your advantage, ultimately for me is I spend everything on a credit card. All my gas, all my food, all my living expenses, everything goes on a credit card because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to pay that off. Because I would buy gas with cash. I would buy food with cash. Notice I didn't say anything like frivolous, anything extra. I didn't say any of that. Living expenses.
Right. But when you pay it off every month, are you getting hit with interest or not? Just so everybody knows.
No, as long as you pay it off in time, on time, right? You can't send it the day it's due and hope that it's going to hit because they're going to get you for that interest because it's not going to get there in time. It might take 3 or 5 days in the mail, right? So you need to make sure that they're going to be able to get that check in time so you don't get hit with the interest. And it's so important to pay your bills, not just your credit card bill, but just your bills on time. That's a whole nother thing we'll go into later, right? Not on this episode, but in other episodes to come.
Yep.
But ultimately, let's digress back into credit cards, right? If you have self-control, I would recommend using the credit card to put all your living expenses on it. Things you would pay for cash to live. Food, gas, any kind of cleaning supplies. Essentials, right?
Essentials.
And only spend on new wants, not needs, but new wants, If you know you have the means of paying for
I
that
like this.
at the end of the month.
This is
Right?
good.
Because there's a couple things here, right? Follow me,
I'm following you.
okay? Well, if you can control yourself with a credit card and not go into debt, you're using them to your advantage. Basically, you're getting a so-called 30-day loan for
For
free.
free. I love it.
Allowing what? What's it allowing? It's allowing your money to stay in the bank with an interest-bearing account and maximize your ability to let it grow.
Got it.
Then you're transferring it to your checking account to pay. Right? See what we're doing here? Now we're using the credit card companies to your advantage. 30 days for that money to sit in a bank and grow in an interest-bearing account. Yeah, it's not very much, and people might say, but I'm also the guy that picks pennies up off the ground.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you do it that way and you pay it off at the end of every month, you do not get hit with interest. You've now used their money for that 30 days. You've now grown your money for that 30 days in your interest-bearing account. You've maximized everything that you have, right? I hope they're following. I hope they're taking notes.
I hope they are following.
Right? Now, if you don't,
Subscribe too.
if you don't have that control, though, it will ruin your life. I am not trying to be dramatic. It will ruin your life.
I've seen it. I've seen it with people that are extremely wealthy too, like that make a lot. Not extremely wealthy, but they make a lot of money, and they spend more than they have, which is just
It's a huge problem.
it's
a huge
insane.
problem.
We see it all the time.
Yeah, that's more of like a mental thing, you know. There's something not
I think it's
straight.
temporary satisfaction,
Yeah.
wants versus needs,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
How much satisfaction do you get when you go make a big purchase? Probably a few hours, and then you're like, crap, do I still have the receipt so I can return this?
I know you're regretting it. You're regretting it. And
Big
like I
time.
said early, you know, these interest rates on the credit cards, you know, there's a reason they're loaning you this money. And it's at a high interest rate. And that's why you can't claw your way out. If you think you're going to make the minimum payments, if you have a credit card, right? They charge you a minimum. And maybe if you're not versed in credit cards, you might think you're doing okay because you're paying the minimum because that's what they tell you to pay. It's a trap.
So we just talked about that mental mindset.
Yeah.
How do you get the discipline if you have this urge to make yourself feel better? Again, I've done it. I bought myself a truck when I shouldn't have.
We've all done it.
Right? And what's missing? Is it a hobby? Is it filling your brain with other activities where you're not bored and want to go? It's always when you're bored. It's like, hey, I'm going to go do this because I don't really have anything going on. And next thing you know, you end up at, the mall or the, car dealership or whatever, just to give you that. So how do you recommend getting disciplined to not spend money that you don't have?
Well, it's a mindset. It's a mindset of what you want to do with your finances, right?
Goals
Setting goals, yeah, but that goes all the way back to our first episode on budgeting. You have to have the budget. You have to review that budget. You have to know what's in that budget, and if you don't, you have to review it again, right?
Yeah.
You have to look at that because that's ultimately the biggest goal there is. Because in that budget is your expenditures, right? And the way we talked about it is then you see what your expenditures are from what your income is, right? And that sets your, then now we're going to get a little more technical. That gives you how much disposable income you have,
Sure.
which is called extra income, right?
Cash flow.
That's right. So ultimately, back to the credit cards, mental discipline comes within. I think Justin might have talked about it a little bit in his episode, to be honest. Justin was a guest we had. You can see his episode. I think if you dig deep enough, I think he does talk a little bit about that mental state.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it comes from within. You have to be disciplined from within. And we've all been there. I've done it. You've done it.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not going to do it. It's just you have to control it.
Right.
You're
going to spend money that you shouldn't. But when do you wrangle that back and say, enough?
Enough's enough.
Enough is enough, right? Yeah. It's, I mean, this guy happens to be a sneakerhead. So how many sneakers do you splurge for before you start clawing back? And maybe you have the receipt and go, I'm gonna take this one back because I just don't need it.
Well, no, I will tell you. Like I've definitely let my foot off the gas, and I don't buy sneakers like I used to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right. There for a while, it was a big thing.
It's pretty bad.
But at the end of the day, it wasn't really. It was giving me instant gratification, but not long term.
I like at one point I felt like I wanted to give you a big hug and said, can we take you to rehab? And just like, I check you into rehab and they're like, what's his issue? I'm like, this guy buys sneakers like all the time. It's ridiculous.
I think that a lot of people do, you know. It's fun, you know, to have a fresh pair of kicks is pretty, you know, it feels good. It feels good. But again, credit cards, you can use them to your advantage or you can use them to your detriment. Please, we recommend you use them to your advantage. You know, write in the comments if you have questions, right? Eventually we'll have people call in. We'll be able to talk about what their situation is specifically and how we see how we would deal with that instance. But at the moment, we don't have a caller. But, you know, we will be there. We will have callers. We will be able to talk, you know, and elaborate on their situations. But, again, I will recap. No control. You think it's free money? It's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
If you have control and you use it and you pay it on time, you can win with letting your interest-bearing account maximize itself for 30 days because it's not your money. You pay it off. You don't get hit with the interest, right? And also, if you do pay it on time and you're very religious with doing so, your credit rating, which is something else we'll touch on, will go
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole different episode is a credit rating.
Yeah.
Can I chime in?
Yeah.
We used to both be athletes, right?
Yeah, of course.
I try to think of it as a game. I know they're lending me that money with my credit card, right?
Sure.
It's a game and I'm going to win every month. So if you need to make it a game or you need to make it that like they're competing against you because they're betting that you're not going to pay that lump sum off that you borrowed for that month. And then it rolls into the next month and the snowball keeps getting bigger. And then the amount of money that you make that you're able to throw at it is never going to be enough.
No.
And that snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So make it a game, right? Like win the game. Like me and Mike, we win the game. I do not let my credit card balance go beyond what I can do to pay it off every month. Bottom line. And if I have to pull back
Discipline.
Exactly.
George has the discipline, but
You know?
he didn't always have the discipline.
Of course.
He didn't always have the discipline. And again, financial literacy. Here we are telling you how we've dealt and learned through the years and how you can start off right away doing your thing. I haven't even touched on credit card points.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can take those points and turn them and then you can get cash back and just throw that against your balance. Like versus just buying some tchotchke stereo system or whatever, like, or even to travel and certain things. Like, I don't need that, but I could take an extra, however many points that I have and convert it into cash. Like if you need to pay down your balance, there's all different kinds of ways you can do it.
Don't get lost in it though, right? Yeah. Some people are really hard-nosed about it and say it's a gimmick, right? It's not a gimmick. It's a controlled thing again, disciplined thing, right? You can use points to your advantage and you can use points to your detriment, right? Don't get into the trap and think, oh, because I'm spending money, I get points and I'm going to be able to get free stuff.
Sure.
It's not how it really works, right? But if you take the steps that we talked about and you pay off your credit card for the needs every month, right? For the needs, because you're going to pay cash for that anyway, and you're paying it off in full, you're going to be accumulating these points behind the scenes from your credit card company. And you can utilize them for vacations. You can utilize them for flights, for car rentals. You can utilize them for free stuff, like George said. You can utilize them.
Which you don't need.
Yeah. You can utilize, some cards will give you cash back. Again, you need to ask questions. I say this in every video almost. You have to ask questions, right? Go do your research. Go look. Credit card companies have to be competitive too, right? Some will give you more points based on your transactions. Excuse me. Some won't. You can sometimes on some cards set what you get points for. Like if you spend on gas, you might get, say, 3% back on the gas in points, right? Percentage.
Yep.
You can maybe turn that gas and go, man, I don't want to spend it on gas. Maybe it'd be spending on food or certain other items. Check and ask the questions. Do the research, right? Because if you do, you can find the best card for your needs, right? You can figure out how to maximize it. I carry multiple credit cards. Now, I'm not recommending everybody has multiple credit cards. I think you should start with one until you can figure out how to make that one work. Don't branch out no more. Keep discipline. Keep the one. Get it paid off every month, right? Make sure you can do that all the time. After you do that, just like anything else, you can scale. You can go to get a second. You can get a second one. And because maybe it gives you better points in different areas. And then you can figure out, oh, when I eat out, I'm going to use this card. because it gives me better points. And when I go get gas, I'm going to use this card, right? But keep your life simple. Use one until you have the discipline to pay it off, right? Don't make it complex.
Love it.
Once you're able to do that, you're going to help your credit score, which we'll talk about in another episode. What?
I said, look at the camera when you're talking to the viewers, man. Right there.
Well, I am.
It's right there.
I'm giving it my right eye.
Okay.
You my left eye. See, I
Wow.
can do both.
That's pretty good talent.
Yeah. So ultimately, look, you can use credit cards to your advantage. We recommend you do. There's a way more things out there you can research and find out. We'll probably have other episodes about credit cards. But for the time being, stick to these basics. Get into a rhythm.
And questions, put them in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. And that's Born Broke with Mike Hoferth. Credit cards, you got to be disciplined. If you're not, take those scissors out and start cutting them up.
Subscribe, like, do all those things that will help the channel stay alive.
Yep. I think that's a wrap, folks.
right.
Take care.